Good morning, Kitchen Witches. Today is Tuesday, July 7th, and this is your tarot and menu inspiration for the day. I'm Chef Lisa, editor-in-chief of A Chef's Grimoire magazine, and pulling tarot cards and bringing them into the kitchen is what we do with the magazine. It's a quarterly magazine, so you can get it in hard copy 4 times a year, or you can get it as a digital copy, which goes right to your inbox. It's got a whole bunch of links, like over 60 links to every magazine. So the experience digitally is really like 3 magazines in one. It's crazy. If you're interested, all of the information or the link to bring you to the information is in the show notes. But I digress. We're pulling a card for Tuesday, the 7th of July. 7-7. 26. All right, what's our card for today? Let's give it a good shuffle and find out. All right. Ready? Oh, hello. We have the 8 of Cups. Now, I don't know about you, but if you're turning tarot cards, doing spreads for yourself, spreads for other people, this is a rare card. For me, I rarely ever get this card in spreads. You know, there's some cards that kind of follow you, they stalk you. They're in every spread for yourself, right? And they come up a lot. Which usually is the ones you should pay attention to. But this card, I find it rarely comes up for me. Maybe it's different for you, but let's talk about it. So we know that cups are emotions, right? They are the suit of emotions. And so right there and then, you know for a fact that it's going to be an emotional meaning to this card. It's also numbered 8. And in the major arcana, the 8th card is strength. And strength is the first of the 7 cards within the second line of the major arcana. So we've gone through the conscious state. We've built an awareness of who we are physically, mentally, boots on ground wise. We've ridden the chariot to the second line of the major arcana, and now we're in a state where we're starting to reevaluate everything that we've been trudging through in the first line. It's all about subconscious now. And strength is what gives us that core understanding that we are enough. Who we are, what we are, physically, mentally, everything is enough. We learned that with the magician, but somewhere along the way, we kind of forgot it. So we remember it with strength because we find our strength to move on. So that's this underlining what's holding this minor arcana that's numbered 8. Because it's 8 and 8, right? A major arcana that's numbered 8 being strength, holding the or ruling over all the 8s in the minor arcana. So in looking at this card a little closer, we see that there are 8 golden cups stacked really thoughtfully onto a platform that looks like it's pretty steady, but one of the cups from the top pile seems to be missing. And there is an individual with a cane or a walking stick who's making their way, has turned their back on the cups, and is now walking away from them. And what are they walking towards? Well, there's a lot of water here, so they're stepping thoughtfully around the paths of water onto the dry surface, the dry grounds, right, that are in between all of the water. So it's not like a gushing river or an ocean. It's like just water seeping, and in between all the little streams there's dry patches that you can walk on. So this person is methodically stepping in the dry areas, not into the water, which means they're kind of, yes, they're heavy in an emotional state, but they're kind of also trying to get tangibility and mental clarity about their emotional state when they're stepping on dry ground, avoiding the water, right? But they also have these large mountains or rock formations that they're headed towards. And whenever you see mountains in majors or minors, right? Any mountain or hills in the tarot cards means it's hurdles. So these are pretty steep, pretty tall. So wherever this individual is leaving the cups for is going to be quite a journey in itself, right? To overcome what is in front of them to get to where they want to go. The moon is depicted, it's nighttime, right? So the moon is depicted in two states, one full and one as a crescent, which means that this whole feeling like they were missing something has been going on for many moon phases, right? So many full moons, many new moons, many crescent moons. It's been going on for a while, internally, in their heart, right? And many of you can relate to this. I know I certainly can, right? I mean, I started out in one career and got to a very prominent place in the career, but then all of a sudden I was feeling like I don't know, it didn't do it for me anymore, right? There was a lot of people who wanted my position, right? It was pretty grand. And when I told people what I did, it was like, oh, really? It was quite impressive. But for me, this wasn't it, I worked hard to get where I got, and then I was like, okay, I'm ready for something else. And I think that's really the meaning of this card. I think it's that we take methodical steps, emotional steps into a passion that we love, and we start to build it up to maybe at its highest level, right? We climb the ladder of success. We get to the top, and then we look down. And we're like, I don't really like what I see. Time to change. And that's cool, right? It's excellent, because that's what life is all about. It's a journey. So why just continue on one blinders on journey? Why not take little paths of the unexplored and see what's out there? So I think that's what this card is all about, right? It's walking away from something that just isn't fulfilling you anymore. And again, I love this card. I rarely get it. I get majors in its place, which have deeper underlining meaning, similar to this card. But this card for a minor really holds potent stuff. It's heavy, right? For a minor. So, yeah, the Eight of Cups. So today, just think about, what have you been thinking about that just doesn't do it for you anymore? It doesn't have to be a job. It could be a relationship. Maybe today's the day you think about, how do I move on? And this person is leaving in the middle of the night. They're just abandoning ship. If it's a relationship, I'm going to just say, please, for the sanity of the other person, don't just leave. Give them a reason. Otherwise, they're going to go through their lives never knowing, and that's not cool. So just putting it out there. But if it's a job, yeah, today we're not hanging around for the pension, right? People are moving on all the time. So there is no crime in just zipping the computer briefcase and moving on. If it doesn't do it for you anymore, just don't stay in a career that just makes you unhappy. Stay in one that makes you happy. Take it from someone who's done it. So now, how do we bring this card into the kitchen? So we're obviously looking for something special. We're looking for something different. We're looking for something that gives us more emotional well-being. So what is that? Well, I'm thinking for breakfast, something special, something that will give us joy, right? An emotional state. What about a blueberry? Because blueberries are in season, we're in summer. A blueberry clafoutis. Clafoutis, similar to a Dutch baby, similar to a pancake, or a popover. Most people know popovers, right? So it's a pancake batter, literally. And with popovers, there's a technique to it, right? You get a screaming hot oven, a screaming hot pan that's in the oven before you add the batter. And the shock of the batter into the hot pans makes them puff up, right? So that they're nice and grandiose tall out of the conical shape that they're in, right? The form that you pour the batter into. That's a popover. A Dutch baby, kind of the same thing. You take your pan, you put it in the oven, get it screaming hot. And then you pour the pancake batter. I like to use like a cast iron individual round or square. It could be a sheet pan too. And you pour the batter in, sheet pan's hot. Pour it into the hot pan, into the oven, and it puffs up. And it stays puffed on the sides, it sinks in the bottom, and then in the bottom you can add like sauteed apples or whatever you want to put in there. Just powdered sugar, great. That's a Dutch baby. A clafoutis is a little different. It's like crepe batter, so it doesn't have as much flour. I think it's more, if you took the batters side by side of everything we just talked about, I think a clafoutis batter is similar to like a crepe batter. So it's more milky and eggy. So it's not going to puff up as much. It is going to puff a little bit, but not as much. It's going to remain custardy. And so you make this batter easy enough to do. Put it into, I like a pie plate, brushed with butter, and pour it in there. And then you just dot it with whatever you want it to bake around. Blueberries is beautiful. Traditionally, it's cherries, which you still can do because I think they're still kind of in season, just on the edge of being out of season, fresh cherries. Traditionally, it's cherry, but I'm thinking blueberry for something different, something a little special, right? We're looking for something special. And then once it comes out of the oven, it's delectable, and you cut it into, squares if it's in a square pan, or if it's in a pie plate, little triangles, wedges that like a pie, powdered sugar, a little fruit, other fruit, maybe strawberries. Beautiful breakfast, delicious, something different. Blueberry clafoutis. Lunch, I'm thinking a salmon niçoise salad. It's a little different, right? It's healthy. It gives you a little bit of an emotional boost because supposedly salmon and blueberries bring up your mood a little bit. So since we're dealing with an emotional card, we want our emotions to be joyful when we're bringing it into the kitchen, right? We don't want to add more of a Debbie Downer to our journey because that would be terrible. So salmon niçoise salad, how do you make that? Well, you can look it up online, but basically you've got your greens. Usually in a niçoise salad, you're going to use niçoise olives, but you can use any olives. Kalamatas work in a pinch, right? Green olives if you enjoy them better. Yes, throw them in the salad. Salmon, of course, piece of salmon. You don't want it huge, right? You're not a dinner portion, it's a lunch portion. So I would say anywhere from 3 to 4 ounces, which cooks quicker. And you could do it in your air fryer, you can do it in a pan, you can do it in the oven. Season it up, salt and pepper, a little lemon zest, if you think about it, into the oven, let it go. That goes on top of the salad. chilled. So it comes out of the hot vessel you've cooked it in. Let it cool down while you build your salad. Green beans, you can blanch them, put them in the salad. They're traditional in a niçoise. And potatoes. So little baby Yukons, you can boil those after you've done the green beans or prior to green beans, whichever, but don't do 2 separate pots of water. That would be wasteful. Just do 1. Get your green beans done, take them out with a slotted spoon, then add your potatoes, or vice versa. Little baby Yukons cook within 10-15 minutes. I mean, they don't take much, just until they're fork tender. You don't need to peel them. You don't need to do anything to them. Just serve them whole on the salad if they're only like 1 inch in diameter. If they're bigger, cut them, of course, right? But potatoes, niçoise, olives, green beans, and salmon, traditional to the salad. Dressing, you can do a French dressing, which is, it's a vinaigrette. So you can use any kind of vinegar, like a white wine, champagne vinegar, over the top, but nice. You can use apple cider vinegar, olive oil, of course, that's your base, right? In it, you're going to add some honey for a sweetness, and Dijon mustard. You can add a bit of shallot, cut up or minced really fine, and a little bit of shaved garlic. Shake that up in a jar or whisk it to emulsify with a whisk in a bowl or a food processor, however you make your dressing, and pour that over the top. If you want to add cheese, it's an elective, but it's not traditional, but you can, yeah. You can add any cheese you like. You can add a Gruyere. A niçoise salad is French technically, right? So you can add some type of French cheese, maybe a brie, little pieces of brie scattered on the side. Lovely. So that's lunch, right? It's looking for something different, right? A little different, not an everyday thing. And even if you go out to eat, unless you're in a French restaurant, you will rarely see a niçoise salad, but it's delicious. Worth it, right? It's something special and make your heart happy. So now moving on to dinner, I'm thinking pan-fried pork belly with broccolini and a marsala glaze. So marsala wine made into a glaze, similar to how you would do a balsamic glaze. I know you can buy it in a squeeze bottle now, but prior to that, prior to having that luxury, we needed to make it on the stovetop. And all you do is take balsamic vinegar, sugar, and you boil it down or reduce it until it's a glaze or a syrupy state. And that's a balsamic glaze that you buy in the squeezy bottle. Do the same method for marsala wine. So you take marsala wine, you add sugar, and there you can find a recipe online for marsala glaze. It's not difficult. It's like a simple syrup, only you're building it with, instead of water, alcohol or vinegar or whatever. Little pot, put the marsala wine, the sugar, let it boil down, maybe add a little, I wouldn't, chicken stock, maybe if you want to, no, because you're boiling it down. So just the marsala wine and the sugar. Boil it down to a glaze stage where when you pull a spoon through, touching the bottom, it separates like the Red Sea. And it kind of slowly comes back to itself rather than filling itself in every time you pull the spoon. That's when you know you're at the glaze stage. Pull it off the stove and let it cool down, right? While you're pan frying your pork belly, which you literally can pan fry. You can put it in the broiler. You can do it in the air fryer. It's super easy. Just get yourself a nice piece. Broccolini, however way you want to do broccolini. Now, broccolini is different than broccoli, right? Broccoli is broccoli. Broccolini is longer stem with just a little bit of the florets at the edge. And it's more bitter, but it's delicious. And since you have a sweet masala going over the pork belly that's fatty and gorgeous and just makes your heart happy, even though it doesn't, supposedly USDA thinks no. I think so. You got the sweetness, now add a little bitter. So you've got really balancing all of unami with your sweet and savory, and it's just luxurious on the dish. Different, right? It's not a pork chop, it's pork belly. It's not a balsamic glaze, it's a masala glaze. So it's different, right? Broccolini, not broccoli. Different, new perspective, which is where we're going, right? We're looking for something special, looking for something different. So that is our meal inspiration for the day. That's our card of the day. And I know in looking and turning away from something to move on to something else, you need to nourish yourself. You need to nourish all those around you with a little kitchen magic. See you tomorrow.